Hello and welcome back to Thought and Prayer for today. I'd like to read one of the best known Psalms. You might be able to guess which one it is. Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It's a wonderful psalm, written most likely by King David, who was, of course, himself a shepherd. And he was a shepherd boy when he was called and chosen to be the anointed king of Israel, to follow on from Saul. We understand that Jesus was born in the line of David. And Jesus, of course, is our good shepherd. And so we see that Jesus was not just born, as it were, in the family line of David, but also in the same profession somehow as well. Psalm 23 is often associated with funerals, and of course it's an excellent reading to have at a funeral. But nevertheless, it was written by David about life. It's not essentially about death, but about life, the hope we can have, the strength we can find, and the presence of God in this life. Not just as we approach death, but as we seek to live life. That's the great thing about this psalm. It's comforting, yes, but it's also inspiring for life and how to live it, and to know who's living our life with us, our good shepherd. When I worked in Africa, we had, as part of our training centre, our craft training centre, we also had a livestock improvement centre, and students would come and learn about animal husbandry and the like. And we had at one point a bad shepherd, a dishonest shepherd, and he would often come back bringing the sheep and the goats back at the end of the day and say, oh, a lion or a cheetah or a leopard has got the best sheep. And it wasn't long until we discovered that actually he was the lion, or the one who was taking the animals. A good shepherd is worth his or her weight in gold. And Jesus emphasized that he was the good shepherd, the one who really does care, not a mercenary one, but one who is fully committed and engaged with his flock, working 24/7 for their benefit, as Jesus does. Scriptures say that he who watches over Israel, who watches over us, neither slumbers nor sleeps. And that was true of shepherds in those days. They would be with the sheep during the day, taking them to good pasture, and at night lying across the doorway into the sheepfold, guarding them against thieves or wild animals. In the UK, we're probably used to seeing shepherds looking after their sheep on occasions, particularly at lambing time and some other times, but a lot of the time you can look into the fields where the sheep are kept in by dry stone walls and fences and the like, and there's no shepherd to be seen. And when the shepherd wants to bring the sheep in, he uses a dog to bring them in, and it's amazing and fascinating to watch that. But the shepherd isn't with his sheep all the time. But in the Middle East and in Africa, still to this day, the shepherd is with his sheep all the time to guard them. And it's wonderful to know that Jesus, God, is with us full time. And I remember watching our shepherd taking the sheep out in the morning, walking ahead of them and calling, and they would follow. And on occasions taking them to a water hole where they would mix with many other flocks. And then when the shepherd felt it was time to move on, he would whistle or call, and his sheep would come out from amongst all the other sheep and follow him on. Jesus said, my sheep know my voice. And that's amazingly true in practice. He knows us, and he lays down his life for us, and he is the doorway into the sheepfold. One time I had to take a man to hospital who had a terrible gash on his head, and he had been lying literally across the sheepfold, the door. He was the door, and a lion or a hyena or some wild animal had tried to come in and snatch one of the sheep or lambs, and he warded off that wild animal, but in the process he took the bite and he suffered this terrible gash. We took him to hospital, he got sewn up and he was fine. But it just reminded me how Jesus laid down his life and does for his sheep, for us, we who so easily stray and get lost, in order to keep us safe and to bring us home to our ultimate home one day. We have a very good shepherd. In the valley of the shadow of death, what is that? Well, David, when he wrote this psalm, may well have had in mind a particular valley. It runs from near Jerusalem down to Jericho, down at the bottom of near where the Dead Sea is, at the Jordan Valley down there. Very steep. And this particular valley is about 4.5 miles long. And it's deep. It's about 1,500 feet high. And at the bottom, in places, it's only 10 or 12 feet. And it's a difficult valley. And there's a shadow over it much of the day. And maybe David had that in mind. Though I walk through this difficult valley, which in a way is like a one-way street for the sheep, but to where? To life. Jesus is the one-way shepherd, if you like, who leads us in his way to life, life eternal. We have such a good shepherd to shepherd us through these days, any days, and if we're facing difficulty ahead in the far or near future, or are walking through present darkness, he is our light in the midst of it all. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. No wonder David was filled and thrilled. You prepare a table for me. In those days, and even today in some pasture, plants which are poisonous grow with the good grass. And the good shepherd would dig out the poisonous plants and maybe pile them up and burn them so that the sheep were able to enjoy the good grazing. So the parallels for the Christian life in this psalm are many. We are well placed. He makes me lie down in green pastures. We are well guided, well led. He leads me beside still waters, and he instructs me into the ways of righteousness. And we are well helped. He restores my soul. Praise his name. And I'd like to finish with another of the prayers of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. O holy, merciful God, my Creator and my Redeemer, my Judge and my Saviour, thou knowest me and all that I do. Thou hatest and dost punish evil without respect to persons in this world and the next. And thou forgives the sins of them that heartily pray for forgiveness. Thou lovest goodness and rewardest it on this earth with a clear conscience, and in the world to come with the crown of righteousness. Chiefly do I remember all my loved ones, my fellow prisoners, and all who in this house perform their hard service. Lord, have mercy. Restore me to liberty, and enable me to so live now, that I may answer before thee and before the world. Lord, whatever this day may bring, may thy name be praised. Amen.